Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. This week saw the third episode of Superman and Lois on the CW, and the first two episodes, in my opinion, have been fantastic. They've been great. It's a really fun show to watch, and more importantly, I think it's a really relatable show to watch. The characters act like human beings. They act like normal people. And so when they go through their little struggles, even though, of course, one of them does happen to be Superman, when they do go through their little struggles or their family woes, as we've seen from the death of Martha Kent in the first episode, there is something very relatable. And that's something, in my opinion, that the CW lost years ago. These TV shows that they put out now, Batwoman and Supergirl and all this crap, they're just not relatable characters. It's so forced and phony and ideologically driven. This show hasn't been ideologically driven at all. And that, I think, is its greatest strength. So the third episode's come around. Was the third episode any good? It was great. It was really, really good. So let's just break it down and go into what happened and why I personally am finding this show exceedingly enjoyable to watch, which of course is crazy considering we are talking about the CW. So it starts off with a typical moment, but fair enough. They've moved into Kent Farm. They're repainting Kent Farm. They're trying to put their own unique, feel to the house, of course. It was decorated before as regards to Martha Kent. And the kids are kind of like, ugh, do we have to sort of thing? And so Lois starts painting the kids and a little bit of a family paint fight breaks out. And, it's a little bit corny, but it's immediately interrupted when Superman hears of an accident happening and has to leave the family fun. Flies over to China get an awful lot of love, where a suspension bridge is collapsing and crumbling, and he does what Superman does. He saves the day. That's a great image, by the way. And this felt like Superman. It actually felt like Superman. He protected the people who were on the bridge. He protected a little fisherman who was below the bridge, who thought it was going to land on his head. And that is how the show started, and it just felt good. It felt as if you just found yourself in the middle of a Superman show, but you knew, because he had to run away from family fun time, that sort of thing affects the family. So they're just having their regular breakfast, and they're doing their little chit chats and whatnot. And now that Clark doesn't have to hide his powers anymore, he can zap away in front of them. He can do things in front of them that he never could before. But even with that, he's still dad. He's still dad to these kids. And, they talk about Jordan's, when I say failure, maybe that's a bit harsh. They talk about his failure in the Fortress of Solitude, that the Jor-El construct said that he's never going to be like you, Clark. He's just simply not able to store the solar power that you have that makes you so incredibly powerful. But Jordan doesn't have super strength, but he is stronger than your regular person, and probably by maybe 2 to 3 times. We're not too sure at the moment, but there's a little segment later on in the show which is quite good, which shows you that he's actually pretty strong. Whereas Jonathan, of course, he doesn't exhibit any superpowers whatsoever, and he's just trying to exist. He's got his own little problems. At the moment, he's moved away from Metropolis to Smallville. His girlfriend doesn't seem to be all that bothered that he's, a fair distance away than they were together. So he's kind of a little bit worried that she might not be quite into the relationship as much as he is. So we got those kind of things going on. Then we got Lana and her husband in a car, and this is a really good scene, because when Lana's husband was first introduced in the opening episode, he was kind of shown off to be a bit of a dick, right? But in the same instance, later on in the episode, he was actually shown that he's more cynical than a dick, you know? And there's a big difference. A dick is a personality trait. Cynical is when the world's beating you down, and you have a more cynical perception on life. And this is really good, because it would be so easy and so typical of the CW to paint Lana here as the matriarchal correct voice in this situation, and paint the husband as the uncaring, unfeeling, yada yada yada. And they're outside of school, I believe, and they're waiting to pick up Sarah, their daughter. And it was revealed in the first episode that about a year or so ago, Sarah had come across a bunch of Lana's pills, and she was so unhappy. For whatever reason, we don't quite know yet. She was just very unhappy, and she took a bunch. And so by the looks of it, she had to go to hospital, get her stomach pumped. And she's now seeing a psychologist. So they might actually be outside the psychologist. It's been a couple of days since I saw the episode, so do forgive. And so they're discussing the issue here. And the fact that they are there all the time to pick her up, to make sure that she doesn't go anywhere and she doesn't do anything stupid. And Lana, I mean, it's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. Lana comes across as overly protective, whereas the father comes across as, we need to let our daughter live her life. So we have one of those great moments where you decide as the viewer which you think is the correct modem of parenting, which is the correct way. Is Lana correct here by making sure that her daughter's safe, by making sure that her daughter doesn't go and wander off and get into a bad crowd or whatever it may be? And yes, that means being a little bit overprotective and a little bit overbearing, but in the same instance, Sarah did take a bunch of pills. Or is the father the correct voice here by saying, look, we need to let her actually just live her life. She did something. We can't be there all the time. We have to let the reins go a little bit. I loved it. I thought it was great. I really, really did. I thought it was a well done, well written scene where they didn't try and make one of the parents the bad guy. They produced 2 points of view, 2 perspectives for you as the viewer to mull over, to think about. So Sarah's in the car, and they because the parents start arguing about it. As soon as Sarah gets in the car, then they're sort of like, oh, hi, sweetie. Well, Lana's like, oh, hi, sweetie. And then Sarah realizes that they're arguing, and Sarah realizes that they've been arguing over her, and she kind of does that, typical grumpy teenage thing. Come on, let's just go home type of business. So at school, she's talking to Jordan, and Jordan wants to ask her if she wants to spend some time with him, even though he knows she's got a boyfriend. The boyfriend sees her at the end of the corridor, so Sarah moves away. You can see Jonathan smirking in the background as he knows that Jordan's doing some spade work. This is just, to me, great, healthy, high school angst that we've all been through, that we've all experienced. And so it's relatable and it's quite cute. And then her boyfriend, who, and again, I'm not trying to make it a big deal out. We'll go to it later. We'll get to it later. Anyway, so Clark's on the farm, and this is another just a lovely little scene here. Clark's on the farm. Clark lifts up the old tractor. He can do it really easily because he's Superman. And he looks underneath, and he realizes there's a leak, an oil leak, and he just has an expression on his face, He just has this expression on his face when he's looking, and it's as if he's kind of saying, everything here, on the farm was falling apart. Martha was too old to look after it. Jonathan was dead. He'd passed on, multiple years before. And Martha wasn't able to keep things up, to maintain things. And so everything on the farm was falling apart, and now they're here. And, is that metaphorically a time for healing? Is that metaphorically a time for fixing, for mending? So anyway, he's triggering his super hearing, because when they're at breakfast earlier, I thought I'd wait now to discuss this because it makes sense now. When they're at breakfast earlier, they talk about how you've got super hearing, so what prevents you from listening in on us? And Clark says, well, I don't listen in on you. There's, I can differentiate between certain noises, and it's just through time and training that I've learned to kind of filter out the fake noise, if you know what I mean. And so it's the sort of legitimate emergencies which kind of filter through. However, he's clearly listening in on what's going on with Jordan, because he is concerned about Jordan. He is concerned that Jordan, who does, I should say, have a personality disorder, who is upset, first of all, feeling as if his father lied for multiple years because he was Superman. Also, because the very first moment that he truly felt that he could bond with his father, with Clark, was disappointment, because the Jor-El construct said, you're not going to be like your father. You're not powerful enough. You can't store enough energy. You can't be Clark. Kal-El will always be different. So he felt as if their bonding moment had failed. He felt as if he was a failure. And it was, again, a very human moment. These are very human moments where somebody is desperate to relate to someone else and they just can't. And so because he knows there is anger inside of Jordan, and he does know that Jordan is unpredictable with his personality, that he does sense that something's going to go awry. Lana's boyfriend, this chap here, who plows into Jordan. Why is it I always see you hanging around my girlfriend, Kent? He doesn't like it. Understandable. He's, although he is definitely coming across as the antagonist in this situation, it is understandable when a new kid's coming along and he's already kissed your girlfriend. He's already, he's already hanging around her still. He's not letting go. So Lana's boyfriend feels as if he needs to assert himself. So he pushes Jordan up against the what they called lockers, and he's kind of giving him a good knock in, good rounding up, and you can see Jordan's fists to start to clench. And if Jordan punches this guy, God knows what could happen. The guy, well, we know he's going to go flying, but we don't know the damage that he could do. He would probably stick him in hospital without a doubt. So Clark makes the decision to whoosh into school. Oh, hi, kids. Hi, kids. And like, Dad, what are you doing here? And he's just like, I just thought I'd stop by and say hello. And it's just like, it's the middle of 5th period or something. You were listening in on what was going on. And so for all his good intentions, he got caught out. Clark got caught out. He got caught listening in on his sons, even though he promised. Well, I don't know if he promised, but he said he doesn't listen into them. So again, they kind of have trust issues with him, and they're both annoyed about it. And again, it's understandable. It's not bratty kids. It's understandable because your father has said to your face, I don't listen in. I'll leave you to do your stuff. I trust you. I'll leave you to do your stuff. And he's gone and turned around, and it's not the case. So there's so many. God, I know I'm rambling. I'm 15 minutes in, and I'm only like 8 minutes into the video, into the show. But it's just very, very relatable stuff. And I love it. I absolutely adore it. So Clark's like, bugger. Lois and Clark discuss what happened. And it's great. This show is so good. Sorry. It's again, because knowing the CW and what the CW have done time and time again, you know, Lois would just be the browbeating wife. She's not. Lois is the loving wife here. And we get to learn another little fact, and it's really interesting. Because Clark talks about the boys and what happened. And Lois says, remember what happened when I found out you were listening in on me. And I was like, oh. And it was great. And Clark said, I thought I lost you. And Lois was very serious and said, you nearly did. You really nearly did. So, you know, it's this. Clark clearly has these issues that he's over, you know, he is overly protective. He's saving the freaking world, people. But, you know, when it comes to people that mean something to him, then he gets even more overprotective. And it must be so difficult for a man with these sort of powers to rein them in, to not abuse them. You know, it's all well and good saying, oh, it wouldn't be great to have Superman's powers. But to have those sort of powers and be like Superman, you also need the morality. And it showed that even Clark had his issues, and he had to get set on the right path himself. And so they discuss how he bought flowers for her for 2 weeks straight, and eventually she came around and they were able to work things out. But it was just a wonderful little scene to kind of display the overprotectiveness that Clark does have on the ones that he loves. And it sometimes gets to a point where it's too much. It is too much. So he meets the sons the next morning and he's like, look, I'm sorry. My bad. Let me take you to school. Lois is in work in a new job at the Smallville Gazette or wherever. And she doesn't want tripe little stories. She gets given a little story. She's like, I don't want to do this. I'm into investigative journalism. And the woman's just like, well, the editor's just like, well, that's all well and good, but these are the stories which sell the paper. You know? These are the stories that sell the paper, and these are the stories that keep us going. So we gotta do these stories. So then a woman comes in, and it's Maggie Sawyer. Well, it's not Maggie Sawyer, but it is Maggie Sawyer. It's Maggie Sawyer from Smallville. I immediately recognized her. I was like, oh, that's a nice little nod to Smallville. Pre-CW days, but technically the same network, all in all. And so I think she's called Powell Ms. Powell, Mrs. Powell or something. And she wants to speak to Lois. And she says, my son's been missing after working with, I forget his name, but, the sort of Trumpish bad guy, comes in, buys up a bunch of, when I say Trumpish, I'm being a bit flippant, by the way. But, media mogul who came in and bought the Daily Planet. I'll remember his name at some point. But he went missing after working for him. He left a very intriguing voicemail, which was the final time that he ever got heard, and then he hasn't been seen since. And so they discuss it, and then we go back to school, where Jordan sees that Sarah's breaking up with her boyfriend. So he's kind of like, hey, yo. And then the kids are still giving him a bit of crap. We then go to cheerleader practice, where Lana is the cheerleader coach, even though she works for that state agency or whatever. And her daughter's on the team, or at least is participating. And Lana starts giving her daughter some crap because she's not pulling her weight. And then her daughter just bites back and is just like, well, fine, I quit. Screw you, I quit. So Jonathan is first alternate for quarterback, because they have their quarterback. They've got their little clique. And suddenly Jordan turns up. So Jordan turns up in the football thing. And Jonathan's like, what are you doing? Football's my thing, not your thing. Football's my thing. And as siblings, you do kind of get protective over what you think your thing is and what your other siblings' things are. And Jordan is like, I want to give this a go, because he knows he's got the super strength. Well, he's not the super strength. He knows he's much more stronger than other people. And he wants a go at the people who've been bullying him. And he sees this as a way of revenge. So if you think about it, it's all fun and games, inverted commas, but morally he's doing all this for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. So the coach puts him in, says, go on then, put your helmet on, get in there. So he gets in there and he just pancakes them. Absolutely pancakes everybody. Doesn't matter how much bigger they are than him. And the coach is just like, what the is going on? Every time, pancake. And he comes off, big smirk on his face. And then the coach is just like, now that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about, boys. So he's used and abused his powers to get some semblance of revenge. Again, you decide, is what he did harmless revenge? Because he didn't break any bones. He just flattened a few people and put them in their place. Or is it an abuse of his physical powers? And remember, if you watch Smallville, Clark had to battle against becoming a pro footballer. Or not. And to start with, he was like, no. Then he wanted in because he wanted to be normal. Then he wanted to go full throttle. And then he realized that he would, in essence, be cheating. He would always be cheating because of his powers. So he decided to drop his football scholarship. So Sarah's in the cafe with the boys. And she's obviously a little bit pissed because of splitting with a boyfriend. And she's pissed with her mom, Lana. And they're having a bit of a chit-chat. And then Lana comes in and is just like, let's go, lady. And Sarah's giving her some monumental shit. which ends up with Lana dragging her daughter out. The kids being a little bit, uh-oh. Clark comes in as they're leaving, says, "Hi, Lana," and she's just like, "Not now, Clark," because she's really pissed off with Sarah. Clark sits down. Jordan says that Jonathan did well in football practice. He lies about being at football practice himself, so Clark's like, "Oh, let's get some cheesy bites as a treat," because he's the father. Back at the Gazette, another great little scene. Lois is discussing with the editor about the woman that came in, and she said, "You know, this is very interesting because of her dealings with him, with the guy himself." And then the editor is very perceptive. You know, she kind of looks a little bit ditzy, but she's very perceptive. And she says, "Don't tell me that you didn't notice that she had alcohol on her breath." I'm like, these little nuances that they put in they're so good. Because it just adds a layer. It adds a layer. You know, is this woman, yeah, her son's gone missing, but is this woman building a conspiracy theory? Is she an alcoholic that's building a conspiracy theory because she can't deal with the loss of her son? So you have all these wonderful layers of nuance which get added on just by one simple line. One simple line. And Lois is like, "Yes, I did. You know, however, da-da-da." Then there's an explosion. And they run outside, and Lana's saloon, whatever they're called, is on fire. And the editor says, "You don't happen to have a sedan which is on fire, do you?" So it cuts to the fire brigade putting it out, which is Lana's husband. Again, not so much a dick at all. And I'm so glad that they've tried to make that character a little bit more nuanced. Jonathan argues with Jordan because he's just like, "Why did you lie to Dad? Why did you lie to Dad and say I did well in practice when you were the one who was actually playing football?" And then, that's when he says, "Football's my thing. This is my thing and you're muscling in. Do you really want to play football?" And Jonathan says, "Look, I'll be honest. When I did it to start with, I kind of just wanted revenge. I just wanted to, hit these guys like the way they've been hitting me. But since doing it, I've been enjoying it." So you kind of like, "Oh man," again, which just makes things a little bit more complex, and it's great. Things aren't black and white. Things are not black and white. Lois says that she needs Clark's car going forward. Clark says, "Please bring it back in one piece. That'd be great." Lana bumps into Clark and she apologizes. It's not forgotten. It's not dusted over. She apologizes for snapping at Clark because of Sarah. By the way, Lana is fucking gorgeous. I can remember her on The Mentalist. Mentalist was a great show. She's beautiful. Beautiful woman. And Clark's just like, "Oh, I've left my keys in my van." "Oh, it's Smallville." Which I just thought was a great line. Smallville's safe. Smallville's safe. You can leave your keys in your car. People aren't going to nick your car. So they have a little bit of discussion about the kids and stuff. And remember, these two have got history. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not this gets explored. Then Jordan gets his shot at Sarah's ex-boyfriend. And he does something a little bit unpredictable. Absolutely pancakes him. Pancakes him. And then when he's down on the floor, he says, "You need to apologize to Sarah." Now that, to me, says that Jordan is saying, you need to apologize and patch things up. We'll see. But he definitely needs to apologize for his behavior. And he's just like, yeah. So it's good. It was good stuff. And they kind of give each other a little bit of a pat, and he kind of got a little bit of respect back. And, so maybe he did it for the wrong reasons, but maybe the wrong reasons turned out to be the right thing to do. Again, the decision is yours and all that. Jordan is discovered because when he turns around, he sees Clark at the football. Turns around, guess who's watching him? Dad. Hi, Jordan. Hi, super strength Jordan. I see you're playing football. So again, they have a little bit of a shout and an argument. Because, Jordan just wants to fit in. He just wants to find something to fit in. And it's like he's always being excluded, whether it be the fact that he does have a personality disorder and he finds it difficult. And now that he's got not super strength, but he's got enhanced strength, that he feels as if he's being excluded from that as well. But they actually talk him around. They will talk him around. So we go to the Lana household, and when Lana was shouting at her mum in the cafe, we discovered some things. Lana and her husband, their relationship is not good. It's not good at all. Dad sleeps on the couch. Lana sleeps in bed. You need company, just okay. So things aren't doing well at all. They barely talk to each other by the looks of it. By the way, there is a ton of food on this table, but it all looks good. So there's trouble in paradise would be a bit flippant, but there you go. Sarah comes out, grabs a meal, gives her sister a little pat on the head, and then just goes back in the room. Are you going to sit down and eat with us? No. Lois is just like, I need to speak to this woman again about the missing son and the relationship that it could have with her ex-boss. I need to borrow your car. That's when Clark says, yeah, can you bring it back in one piece? And then Lois turns around and goes 50-50. So again, there's just great bits that make the relationship feel legitimate. Clark tries to be a little bit sarcastic. Lois is just a little bit better at sarcasm. So it was great. It was great. So the boys kind of make up about football, and Dad says, "Go on, we can do that football business." Lois turns up at the woman's house, and then there's a guy there. She turns around and she notices some dude there. So Lois kicks the shit out of this guy and runs away and manages to contact the police. No! Because that would be stupid. Because the guy's about 6'2". He probably outweighs her by 80 pounds, 90 pounds, maybe twice as much. Probably about 80 pounds, I'd say. No, the guy just absolutely ragdolls Lois all over the place. We do discover later he is an enhanced super being, metahuman, but he just ragdolls Lois all over the place. And then Lois gets out her Superman beeper, and he's like, "That's not going to do anything. That's sort of like, that's not gonna, you're not gonna stop me with that." And she says, like, "I won't, but he will." And she clicks the button, and woof! Superman just comes smashing in through the wall, and that's when we discover the guy is freaking metahuman, and he just pounds Superman into the ground. Superman was kind of taken off guard, just thought that he could outmuscle him. Gets pounded onto the ground, loses consciousness for a moment. The guy looks like he's going to finish off the Powell woman, who seems to be in the bathroom, and he was in her. And then Lois screams Superman. That wakes him up. Look at that. That is the eye of you. Don't you touch my family. And so he absolutely goes ham on the guy, uses his frost breath, smashes him out of the frost breath. It's great stuff. Lois is like, I can deal with this. You know, get her to the hospital. I'm okay. You get her to the hospital. Whoosh, Superman zaps her to the hospital. Lana has heard through Clark that Sarah split up with a boyfriend, so she comes in, tries to make peace with her daughter. You know, I'm sorry about you splitting up and stuff, and they have a little bit of a heart to heart, and it's good stuff. It's what, you know, it's not corny. It fits what is happening in the show. It's not just kind of generic stuff. And we then get the kids. There's nothing too much going on here. I think this is the football talk. Yeah, Jordan, you can play football. There you go. And then Clark, though, is going to make sure that he doesn't abuse his superpowers or his enhanced abilities. So he is going to become a helping coach. I don't know what you call him. Co-coach. An alternative coach. He's gonna help out the football team, and he's gonna do it for free. So he's kind of like, oh, hi boys. I'm gonna be a coach on the sideline for the soccer team, and then Sarah's just like, God, your dad's struggling carrying that cooler. It's funny. It's funny because we know he's Superman. And yeah, it was just a great episode. And then it ends. Well, the editor says, look, I've put together all of these pieces. Let's work out what's going on. Lois has her proper bit of investigative journalism to get stuck into, and the editor is all in on it. So the enhanced being is just like, I kind of failed a little bit. I got done by Superman. You're bringing in someone else. How's she going to help me? And then she helps him by killing him. And she's got heat vision. And if she's got heat vision, there's a possibility that she is Kryptonian. What is going to happen? So we have, oh my God, I spoke for nearly 40 minutes. We only have 2 more episodes before the series goes on hiatus. The production got shut down because of a COOF breach. It's going to be coming back in May. And I'm going to relish these next couple of episodes because these first 3 have been fantastic. So there you go. There's my breakdown of Superman Season 1, Episode 3. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. And also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.